Good evening and welcome to the September 5th Historic Preservation Commission meeting. We will start with calling the meeting to order. And could you do the roll, please? Present.
Nicole Wethington. Scott Allen.
Present.
Andrew Anderson.
Present.
And George Piper.
All right, so we have a quorum to conduct business. We'll move to approval of the minutes. Everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Motion and a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We have no old business, so we'll move straight to new business, which is a COA from 109-111 North Meridian Street. We'll hear from staff first.
Good evening. This is a continuation from a previous application in August, I believe. Let's see here. I'm sorry, July was when we were here. Sorry, time flies. So I will go over the new staff report with you all. Myself, the applicant, everyone involved heard your comments at the last meeting, and I think we've presented a better package for you to consider tonight. But if there are any questions, everybody is in the room and prepared to answer those. So some of this will be a repeat from the last presentation. There's been a few changes in the staff report, and obviously a more robust rendering package that goes along with this. So in this case, I am going to read the staff report, but I will show you pictures that go along with the staff report as we move along. So you can beam those up there anytime you'd like. There we go. All right. The location for the application being heard currently is at 109-111 North Meridian Street. The property is zoned central business. This property has been before the HPC, as mentioned, at the July 2024 meeting. The application was denied due to a lack of supporting documents. This staff report is an update to the July report. As it was last time, the building is still contributing, which is a building less than 50 years old and which is compatible with its historic surroundings, or a building which is over 40 years old and whose historic character remains, but does not rise to the level of noble or outstanding. This building is included in the National Register of Historic Places, Lebanon Courthouse Square Historic District. So this is where the staff report comes into play for the certificate of appropriateness for the facade restoration. We will start with the exterior work. Actually, that is all that we will have under our purview tonight, but start with the storefront, which is labeled the front elevation in this picture. The storefront, the first floor storefront will be replaced with full glass windows, aluminum clad, dark bronze finish. The applicant is proposing one door on the southern half of the storefront flush to the sidewalk. The configuration proposed will closely match the original storefront. The original storefront had one entrance on the northern half. The original storefront image attached as supporting documentation to this report, and I will pull that up right now as we talk about it so that you can see. Description. There is the original storefront. As mentioned, one door on the northern half of the building instead of two separated doors that you see now. Okay, it's like technical snafu. I don't know why the Wi-Fi is not keeping up.
We'll take your word for it.
Okay, thank you. The storefront is trimmed in wood, which features columns painted in Sherwin-Williams, Keystone Gray, and surrounding field in Sherwin-Williams Agreeable Gray. If it shows, maybe not. A blue canvas awning with the business logo will be installed above the storefront windows. The existing paint will be removed from the brick. Failed brick will be repaired and repointed.
We'll take your word for it.
The second floor windows will be aluminum clad, double hung, dark bronze finish to match the storefront, first floor storefront, and match the existing original size windows in replacement. The lower panel will be operable. The upper lintel will be painted agreeable gray to stay consistent with the other colors found in the storefront first floor. The ballet sign in the cornice will be repainted with Keystone Gray being the background color. If you can see the pictures, you would agree with that. So we'll move on to the rear of the building, which is the east-facing side. The addition to the original structure covered by a shed roof will be demolished, and the original rear wall will be restored. The usable brick from the demolished addition will be used to replace damaged brick around the original facade. The reuse of these bricks will blend well with the original brick found throughout the structure. The 3 upper floor windows will be replaced with matching windows to the storefront. 2 exit doors will be installed, both covered by individual canvas awnings. One exit door is for the first floor space and one is for access to the second floor space. The footprint of the addition will be backfilled, compacted, and capped with asphalt for parking. On the alley side, the north side of the facade will see the same restoration to the brick as the front and rear. Windows will be replaced with matching windows to the front and rear as well. One half window above the gas meter will be filled in with brick. However, the lintel and sill will remain. A new alley-facing door covered by an awning is proposed to accommodate access to the ballet space. This door is located 50 feet from the front of the building facade, or the west side. A gooseneck light fixtures, matte black in color, will be installed adjacent to the door, moving to the storefront side. There are 3, I believe, if you look at that picture that you cannot see right now. Back. Thanks for trusting in me, Scott.
It's all a blur.
All right. Since we're on the alley side, there it is. Gooseneck lighting fixtures, which you can see identified.
We're still not on the alley.
Okay, we're still down. We'll give up on that. The existing ballet school wall sign on the west-facing elevation will be moved to the alley wall at the northwest corner. Staff believes the proposed renovations to this building will have a positive impact on the structure and the district. The applicant heard the comments from the initial submittal and responded with supporting documentation that represents the proposed changes in detail. A functioning side facade door in the alley accessing interior space is found throughout our historic district, and I did attach pictures of that to your package. These are very common in our district and others found around the state. Examples of doors in our district are found in the supporting documentation provided by staff. Staff recommendation is to approve the COA as submitted. Sorry for fumbling around with the technology here. That is the staff report. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have or concerns from the last meeting to this meeting. The applicant has hired some designers to be here in the room as well, and the applicant is here to answer any questions as well. So with that, I'll take questions or move over so the applicant can answer questions.
All right, any questions for Derek at this time? And we'll be happy to hear from the applicant. If he has anything to add. Okay. Any discussion with the commission on the COA?
I do have one item, just an observation and a request on the west elevation, the storefront elevation. Thank you for providing, of course, the additional graphics. Looking at the photo that was provided, the historic photo of the building, and just how that's detailed and the storefront's broken up, I would request that on the new storefront, where it appears to just have a mullion dividing a lengthy opening there, I'd love to see one more trim board added that's consistent with how you're treating the jams at the other opening locations. Simple detail, but it'll more consistently match historical. There we go. Yeah, so if you could flip to the west storefront elevation.
I think there's a technology lag.
Still not working. Okay, that's okay. I think everybody at this point on our end has access to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm the designer. They hired, my name is Tim Schrock from Design Build Solutions. I believe I know what you're talking about, the mullion, if you will, between the two north side panes, north of the door.
Yeah, that's correct.
I know the applicant did not have any comments. May I give some comments?
Please.
To my process. My daughter is one of the students at the ballet school, and I take karate from Mike Kincaid, a former owner of this building. So I have the unique opportunity of getting some history of this building back from when Mr. Kincaid owned the building back in, I believe he said early 80s, all the way up to early 2000s, if I remember correctly, shortly, just a couple years after the fire at the south end of that block. I have talked 3 times, I believe, with Ms. Hume about the layout and usage of her side, the 109 side. She was concerned about a few items, namely on the first floor, providing area for her students to remove shoes, study, and then during her Princess Camp, particularly space for the children to change. The current room that they are using to change, we ended up kind of creating that bathroom / changing room, and she was pleased with that. She was okay with that alteration. She was pleased to have the foyer, if you will, from her entry to keep wind from blowing in. And we also were able to provide her that study area / shoes, coats. Even though my daughter takes ballet from there, I had never really noticed how many people come and go at the time classes change. At one time, I counted, besides myself, I think I counted 41 people in that building during this set hour, and then 35 people, not all of them new, but there was quite a cross of bodies there. So after she and I observed that and talked about that, she felt happy about this out for providing for her side of things. As far as historically, Mr. Kincaid gave me quite a history of how he added this, that, and the other. Historically, the accountant used to be up on second floor, and they would run cables when a sale was made back. I believe this was back when it was the old J.C. Penney's or something.
Lords.
What was it?
Lords.
I'm sorry?
Lords.
Lords, okay. Where if a sale was made down on the first floor, they would use this cable system to pulley the transaction up to the accountant on second floor and send the receipt back down and change and whatever. It was very interesting. So that's my brief history that I learned along the way.
Thank you for your comments. I do have a few comments from our previous meeting. I went and watched the presentation again and wanted to note a couple of comments that were made by multiple members of the commission. And there was 3 different times it was mentioned about adding a new cut into the building for the door on the alleyway. We also mentioned the flow of the entrances, particularly the door configuration. And, it was, one of the quotes was exactly making a recessed entrance, which historically is the correct way to do it, needs to probably happen day one. And I think we've accomplished that door configuration at this point, making it more historically accurate. But one of the problems that we still have is that the primary entrance and moving into the alleyway for an occupant of a building is never how the building was intended to be used. And that was notated also by another member. The distance further back where it was at one point 25 and then 39 and then now 50 from the flow of traffic, I also think is not conducive to the flow of entrances in our downtown. This does go hand in hand with not only the historic preservation standards that we have before us, but also it's directly in other places of the Lebanon UDO, talking about the visual compatibility with the rhythm of entrances. And so when we change that rhythm of entrance from the front, which is where the building naturally wants that entrance to be, to the side, I think that's counterintuitive to the counterproductive even to the standards that we've already set before. And one of the thoughts that I had in my mind when going through this is if we were to, as a commission, if we were to have a new construction, for instance, I know the city parking lot that was the Montgomery Ward building, ultimately, I think, it would be nice to have some type of development there. And would we as a commission approve a new structure where the primary door was in the alley? Kind of a last couple of comments on that is while alley doorways are within the district, not a single one of them is a primary use. They're all a secondary entrance. And I think that's very important to note. And there's very specific reasons as to why. Historically, they weren't there. Historically, the primary entrances are in the front. And the Secretary of Interior Standards for Treatments of Historic Properties, storefront specifically, is not recommended to remove or substantially change the storefront or locations. And the changing the location of the storefront is still not prohibited. So it's not recommended. So it's mentioned multiple times throughout that publication. And, this property is among the properties that are listed on the National Registry. And so I do feel that those were heavy concerns brought to the attention of the applicant from multiple different members. And it's not just about the term of who's in the building now. It's a long term. So I have a daughter too that attends there. And would a nicer entrance be nicer? Sure. Would an entrance like this, does it really change how they enter the building and better the tenant? I don't know if it does or not. I'm not the tenant, but I can say that as a preservationist, I don't particularly like the fact that we're cutting in a new hole into a building. One other note, the last note that I have is the window being filled in. We shouldn't be trying to fill in windows.
Make a comment to that.
Yes, please.
It is currently boarded now.
Correct. So when we are looking at improving a structure, all kinds of windows have been boarded up. And there's multiple buildings. There's one that we just approved not too long ago where we're able to take down boards, put in new windows. And so I guess I would ask to that point of, what is the reasoning of not putting in a window in there instead of bricking that window up?
So two reasons. One is that window is currently boarded up because that's right where the stairs are interior. And second, I proposed filling it in to kind of go along with what happened along the alley-oop alley, I believe on the county building. That was, my thought was filling it in the way that, you know, in respect to the window and homage to the window, leaving the lintel and the sill and recessing that brick is I felt more of an homage to the window, to the facade than a board, than a plywood board that's painted.
Could a solid colored glass, like a black glass window, would that be an option? I feel like that doesn't brick up a window. I hear you if it's blocked, right? But just to add in more brick, it is a negative to me, but that's just my opinion.
It's a common thing I've seen before in historical applications where a window doesn't make sense any longer to do the brick infill application. Like I said, leave the lintel and sill that is original, and then just have a slight recess, if you will, of the new brick.
Okay.
That was
Tim,
my
I like
content.
That's I've done it numerous times in my experience, seen it handled and approved the same way. It's a good practice.
It's just not recommended from the historic standards. So that's what, I don't know. Where on the line do we sit?
Historically speaking, and having worked with National Park Service on tax-funded projects,
Sure.
what they like to see is, as he said, some breadcrumbs, remnants, respect to what was originally there. So recessing the brick, maintaining the jambs, keeping the sill are all things that they do encourage. If you can't, for certain reasons, put a window back in that place. So.
Any other comments? Okay, that would entertain a motion one way or the other on this application. Certainly can.
Hi, Missy Krulik with the Heart of Lebanon. I've had the honor of being in the Main Street organization for about 5 years now, been the director. So I've had the opportunity of visiting lots of Main Streets, not only in Indiana, but around the country. And I've sat in lectures about the use of alleys and entrances off of alleys. And I've sat through presentations on how that can revitalize a new space. I know that the history of this building as well, the upper floor, when it was built, it was the first Republican headquarters. And so I think that the use of the upstairs is always been indicative of something that is not a primary retail restaurant use, it's a secondary use. I know that there have been entrances on alleys for the second floor. EB Gear, the building west of the Chop House, had a residential entrance to the top. It had the stairway in the alley, and then that doorway on the side. So I know in the past that second stories have been utilized alleys for entrances. So that's all my comment.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else?
I'm Chris Valentine. I'm a co-owner of the building. Just want to comment on the side door. I understand your, concern with that. From an owner perspective, we came into this building wanting to really put some money into it and fix it up. And we're really anxious to get in there because we want to be productive members of the community. On the flip side of that, trying to walk a tightrope here is we bought the space because we needed it for a purpose. We need it for our business. And the way that the space is laid out right now, we've gone over this multiple times trying to figure out ways to do it. For what we want to use the space for, that's the only option we could come up with. So if we're not able to do it that way, I'm not really sure where that leaves us, unfortunately. But does anybody have any questions for me?
Thank you.
I have two comments, if I may. I believe Derek included a picture of the north facade in the package. If y'all refer to that, just west of the lean-to portion that is going to be removed, there is a white vent. And if you look above that vent, I see an arched lintel and an area where that brick has, to me, it looks like it's been filled in. I would propose that at one time has been a door. That's comment number one. Comment number two, the contractor just pointed out to me, as I'm sure you all have had fun walking through that hallway back to Ms. Hume's stairs, that floor is greatly out of level. I think we've measured in some places 6 to 7 inches out of level, sloping toward the alley, toward that north side. Just the process of repair and restoration of that floor, the contractor made the point that we're going to have to, in order to provide continuity for Ms. Hume's school, we're going to repair that floor. We're going to have to put some sort of access for her, because even if that hallway, say, were to remain as a front, front sidewalk access, we'd have to create we'd have to create some sort of access so that we can do the construction on the side. So that was the two comments I had there.
I'll just respond to the comment number one. I think you're absolutely right. It looks like a door to me as well. And I think my personal position isn't the fact that there are doorways or not doorways. My argument is adding and cutting into the building. That's where I am personally, I think is a really hard line. And I still believe that we're changing the flow of downtown, the flow of the buildings, where that is. And so I don't disagree that it's a door. If that door was utilized, I think that would be a better access. I think that would be a better utilization of the building. That's just my comment on that.
I think I would be concerned if adding a door was just something they wanted to do for aesthetic reasons. But I think this really comes down to functionality from what I'm hearing. And it sounds to me like they absolutely need this door.
I agree that they in their floor plan that this door is needed. However, I don't think that is a wise move and good precedent for the commission to make these massive changes to buildings in our very limited inventory because they are needed for a current tenant. And I am empathetic with the fact that it causes problems, but I would love to to do a lot of different things with different buildings downtown. But when we're permanently changing a massive part of the structure, in my opinion, which is a side elevation of this building, and changing the character and flow, that's the negative part. And I think that was echoed by other members of this commission as well last time. To the building owner, as a co-owner, I'm sorry, not the owner, but I do appreciate everything that you're putting into this project, and I don't think it's wasted. I think the amount of what you're doing and investing in Lebanon is phenomenal, and the product that will come out of this, I'm sure, will be great. I just have concerns that it's permanently changing that structure, and it's not personal. It's just it's all for one tenant, and that's what I have an issue with.
A concern, and someone else who's had a child dance there, that if someone doesn't swoop in the next decade-ish and invest in this building, that building is in danger of being to a point where it's not salvageable. And I think we have to weigh the pros and cons of, do we want to let someone put a door in? It would serve the functionality, allow the dancers, allow that second floor to be used, and still keep people also visiting the front store for that business. It's a way to keep that building being used by two businesses. And it, think of my point here. It keeps us from losing that building. I guess we kind of think, like, are we going to hold fast on not putting a door in versus we could be sitting here in X number of years having to face the fact that we now have to completely call this building a loss because it does need a lot of love and care.
Certainly. I appreciate your comments as well.
Make a comment to that point.
Yes.
As the engineer and I walked through the building, most ballet students and, all ballet students and parents are prohibited from going beyond what we've proposed is this new rear door, because in that shed area, the floor has caved in. And up on second floor, if you look on page SK4, where the bathroom is on second floor, the walls are currently pushing the toilet into the space. The reason we had to put incorporate a bathroom back on second floor for the ballet side was because we're eliminating a bathroom that's in that shed area that hasn't been used for 10 years because, once again, the walls are caving in. So I appreciate your concern. I would venture it's less than 10 years.
All here when we had to make the decision to demolish the old Montgomery Ward building, and do we want having that discussion of maybe if we had just allowed I don't think is very dire. I don't think it's setting a bad precedent. I still think we can take applications case by case, purpose by purpose. But this building in particular, if they have an owner very willing to invest and salvage it while it's still savable, I say, why not?
If this wanted to be an outdoor restaurant with seating in the alleyway, similar to what Four Finger Distillery did, and the only way that they would buy this building, or the only way that they would invest in this building, is if they were to put in a garage door that would open, similar to Four Finger Distillery, for an example, one that would be open, we would be making that same concession. If we were, and that's the biggest part of this that I have an issue with. The comment was made by the owner and the applicant as well last time, and one of the reasons we bought the building was to utilize it the way we want to utilize it. I get that. When we buy a property, we want to utilize the property, we want to use it. But when we're making changes that are long-lasting and affecting for other people, and that's...
I'll offer another anecdote again from my experience in working on historical projects. One typical factor in when you can do things such as opening, specifically garage door openings, to take a hypothetical scenario, which I've encountered, they look at how adjacent that opening is to the front of the building, the primary facade in this case, which would be the west facade. The opening you're proposing is well set back from the front facade, not immediately visible from the street. In that case, they tend to be lenient on interventions into that building that are non-original, non-historic. So I would challenge that. Unfortunately, Casey, that
I wasn't taking a statement. I was asking, and would we be saying the same things at that point?
Yes, I would support, depending on the factors of how close it is to the street. I would certainly entertain that in this case. Yeah.
Okay.
And to that point, if I may again, that was one of the conversations we had for Ms. Hume, was visibility. She doesn't do a lot of marketing, and the community knows this as the ballet building, right? And so that was, one of the concessions that I discussed with the owners was to not just leave the current, large banner that's up on the cornice at the top, was to build and create a new sign up there that goes with the color combinations, keep the sign that she has currently west facing and put it on the north wall, as well as signage on the west wall. There you'll see on the front elevation, blade sign, if you will, once again, trying to indicate for, and give Ms. Hume that marketability, visibility, as well as the lighting down the hallway for the students to safely traverse.
Any other comments?
No, I really appreciate all the hard work you guys have put into this. Obviously, you've put a lot of time, effort, resources, and thought into it. And unless anybody has anything else, I'm prepared to propose a motion to pass the to approve the COA.
The only condition I'd like to place on that is my initial comment that I would like to see the addition of the trim between the storefront at the northern half of that elevation.
I made a note of that, and we'll update that. Would you like that
We can approve on
passed
that
along through
condition.
Derek, or just a verbal agreement here?
We'll note it in the conditional approval here.
And a motion with a conditional. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Aye. Motion carries. All right, thank you very much. Congratulations, and thank you for investing in downtown. All right, next item of business is a staff report COA. Is there anything to report?
No staff COAs to report at this time. I will update you on the Rocket Liquor situation. We are working diligently on that, and we'll provide an application to the HPC hopefully later this year on reconstruction of that front facade. So the building owner has been extremely responsive since day one, since when the parapet fell over. And we've engaged with a structural engineer to assess the current safety of the building. The building owner did make some necessary temporary fixes to make sure that everything was secure and safe to the public. They were allowed to reopen today with the agreement that they would have an HPC application to me no later than November 30th. So at this point, the owner's playing ball, and we are working together well. No legal action, official legal action has been taken at this point, fortunately, because that just costs everyone money. So we are very, very careful, crossing the T's and dotting the I's to make sure that regardless of a source of income, that it is safe to the public. And at this point, I'm confident that the temporary fixes that have been made do create that situation where it's safe to the public. It was found that the actual structure behind the brick veneer that is supporting the weight bearing, everything that goes along with that building is very, very much intact. So it's simply the brick veneer on the front that has fallen off.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other discussion or business for the board? Hearing none, I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank you.